when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep alone. Sweep the streets I used to own. I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes, listen as the crowd would sing. Now the old king is dead, long live the king. One minute I held the key, next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered that my castle stand upon pillars of salt and pillars of sand. I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, once you've gone there was never an honest word. And that was when I ruled the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 10th annual New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Can we get a round of applause for everybody who made it through the inclement weather to join us today? This is a terrific looking crowd. The room looks great, very colorful, and we're here to have a great time. I was talking to my wife last night. She says, well, you're gonna have to do some shoveling tomorrow, and we got trick-or-treaters coming from 1 to 4. We got a lot going on. I said, I have an event tomorrow. She said, there is no way in this snowstorm that your event is still going on. And I said, Jean, this is not the New Hampshire Legends of Badminton. This is the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, and this banquet will be going on tomorrow. I said, if they have to ice skate down the sidewalk, we will have an induction ceremony. And I know Dick Boucher would be leading the charge down the sidewalk too. So welcome. I know it took a lot for everybody to make it here and looking so fabulous. I'm without power at home. I'm sure a lot of you are as well. I got home at 2 a.m. last night. My drive home from Channel 9 is normally about 15 minutes. Took me about an hour and 20 last night. Every road I kept going down had a tree down or wires down, and finally made it home. Did a mad dash to the gym this morning to take a shower and have a sandwich there, and here we are, and I'm sure many of you have similar stories, so thank you so much for coming. We have 6 great, fabulous inductees. We'll honor the tradition of Sacred Heart here in Concord. A lot of UNH hockey alum being inducted today, which is especially exciting. They had a nice win last night, so it's just a great day to talk hockey, and I think it's fitting that we have a snowstorm. And I'm not gonna do any shoveling. I have a personal rule that I don't shovel after March 1st because I know it will melt. This is the first time I've ever been faced with October, and I feel like the same thing's going to happen. It's going to melt. So I'm going to test a new rule that I never shovel in October, and we'll see how that goes. My wife might not agree. But anyway, year 10, this is amazing. Year 1, we were over at the Puritan back room, stuffed into a tiny little room. Here we are 10 years later with dozens and dozens of great Hall of Fame members. And 6 more great members to come in to our Hall of Fame. So this is an exciting day. And to get things rolling, before we get to lunch, we have a few speakers that we want to hear from. I welcome to the podium the president of New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, Roland Olivier.
Well, I want to add my welcome to Jamie as well. I'm glad all of you came for a lunch because most of you probably can't cook at home. So. A special welcome to our 6 inductees from the class of 2011, their families and friends, and the Sacré-Cœur, see I do speak French, with a name like Olivier, team members as well as their family and friends, our returning Hall of Fame members whom we will introduce later in the program, and all of you who support the Legends of Hockey. As I look around this room, I'm really privileged to be part of the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey and to participate in this event. honoring 6 men who have contributed to the development of hockey in New Hampshire, as well as the Sacred Heart hockey team. And I want to take this opportunity to thank those people who made this possible. First of all, to Jamie Staten, who once again has honored us by being our MC today. Give a round of applause. Next to our board of directors, 19 strong this year, who have been working since March on this program. They are listed in your program, and I would ask them at this time if they would please stand and be recognized. Thank you to the Manchester Monarchs, who are here with a complete table for the great partnership that we've had with them since 2001, and for honoring our inductees in the Sacred Heart team last night at the game. Also, lastly, I want to thank the 2011 Induction Committee. Roland Martin, I would ask you to stand as I read your names. Roland Martin, Renee Leclerc, Dick Boucher, Tom Champagne, and especially Jim Hayes, our executive director, who worked so hard to pull this together. Please stand, guys. As all of you have seen in the program, the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey is a 501c3, that's an IRS code for a nonprofit organization, whose primary purpose was originally established in 2001 to create the Hockey Hall of Fame, to obtain and preserve hockey memorabilia from New Hampshire, and also to support the development of hockey in New Hampshire as well. And as you see in your program, we mentioned the fact that this last year we began supporting the New Hampshire High School annual Senior Classic. We bought special uniforms, which they wore at the Classic, and we will be supporting them again this year. As you know, the New Hampshire Legends was formed 10 years ago, as Jamie mentioned, by two people, by three people, two of which are here tonight. Certainly Dick Boucher and Jeff Eisenberg from the Monarchs, as well as someone from the Franco-American Center, Elise. So we honor them, we thank them for having gotten this started. We hope that we will continue with that great tradition over the years. Also tonight, or this afternoon, I want to announce that finally, believe it or not, the New Hampshire Hockey Hall of Fame Museum, which is online at www.newhampshirelegendsofhockey.com, is now open for you to visit. It's been a long, arduous work that the Board of Directors has put on, but now it's open. Eventually, we will have 1,400 photos, which have been taken by Mark Bogaz, one of our board members, and there are about 200 photos up there now. We will be putting some on an ongoing basis, so visit the museum, visit it often to see what's new. Lastly, we also mentioned in the program that the second opportunity to get together as a hockey group will be coming in our annual Golf Classic. That's our 2012 Golf Classic, which will be held at the Stonebridge Country Club on July 13th at 10 o'clock. So we encourage you to keep an eye out for that, and please sign up and come visit us. Lastly, what I want to do is to mention that every March, the board of the New Hampshire Legends reviews applications or nominations that anyone in this room or anyone involved in hockey or not in New Hampshire will submit to the board for review, but for any individual who is, in your opinion, would be qualified to become a member of the board. We have a nomination form available on our website, and we encourage you to submit those nominations, please, so that we can keep this great tradition going. Now, on this 10th anniversary, the executive committee of the board, whom you'll be seeing during parts of this program, thought that it would be fitting to honor the 4 past presidents who have provided leadership for the New Hampshire Legends and the New Hampshire Hockey Hall of Fame, and who have brought us here today. So this is a bit of a surprise because none of them expected to be recognized today. So I would ask if they would please join me up here on the podium. That's Dick Boucher, Rene Leclerc, Roland Martin, and Tom Champagne. In addition, I'm going to ask Greg Nolan to come up and help me out with this.
Surprised.
Okay, we're going to start over here. Yep. Okay. All right, guys. The first award goes to Dick Boucher, who was our president during 2001 to 2005.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And as I mentioned, Dick was also one of the 3 founders of the New Hampshire Legends. Next is Rene Leclerc, who was the president during 2005 to 2007. Next is Roland Martin, who followed Rene from 2007 and 2009. And last but not least is Tom Champagne, who preceded me 2009 to 2011, and it was under his leadership that the museum was completed. Tom? All right, so once again, I'll get off and let Jamie continue with the program. I want to welcome everybody and congratulations to our 4 former presidents.
All right, thank you, Roland. The governor could not be with us today. He did send along a citation and a commendation, 2 different things. I'm not sure what the difference is. I'm just going to show you the commendation, and it's rather lengthy. I think I'll just read the first word of every paragraph. Whereas, now therefore. He is commending the Sacred Heart Hockey Club for its contribution to the sport of hockey. Thank you, Governor Lynch. If you'd like to read this during dinner, I'll leave it right up here. I'd like to welcome up Mike Gold, Treasurer of New Hampshire Legends.
Thank you all for coming. I'd just like to introduce our sponsors. Obviously, our sponsors are very important to this event. We couldn't do it without them. Please hold your applause till the end. Our bronze sponsors are Berlin IGA Food Liner, Central Paper Products, Dwyer, Donovan and Pendleton, Northway Bank, Rene Leclerc Insurance Agency, Capital City Paving, Christian Party Rental, EVR Advertising, Plodzik and Sanderson, PA, Tide Contracting and Landscaping, Town and Country Motor Inn. Our silver sponsors are Berlin City Auto Group, Clear Channel WGIR, Golf and Ski Warehouse, SleepNet, Bryan and Everett Sports, Faye's Boatyard, Morgan Storage, Verizon Wireless Arena, and our gold sponsors are Amoskeag Beverage, Corvo and Routhier, Bogaz Photography, Digital Media, Great State Beverages, and our social hour sponsors, New Hampshire Distributors out of Concord, and our title sponsor, and also one of our board members, Vashon Kluke and Company out of Manchester. Once again, thank you to our sponsors. You make it all happen.
New Hampshire Legends has always had a great relationship with the Manchester Monarchs, and we're lucky that that continues with the new president, Darren Abbott. I'd like to welcome Darren up. It's a long walk to the podium, and I'd like to prepare you guys for what could be a lengthy speech here, because on my list it says how long everybody gets to talk, and it's all 1 minute, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 1 minute, and then Darren Abbott 5 minutes. Well, I'm not sure what that's all about, but it just shows you the importance of the Monarchs and Darren Abbott to the organization. Hey, thanks for being here in the inclement
I
weather.
got through on last night. It's beautiful. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm not nearly as long-winded as Jeff, so we're in good shape here. And I've been told that we want to keep the program running, and everyone wants to get back to their power outages, so I'll keep it brief. On behalf of the Monarchs, I'd like to thank the Legends of Hockey for including us in today's activities. I'd like to congratulate this year's inductees, past inductees, and also the members of the Sacred Heart team. It's a great event, and it's something to be very proud of, to be in any Hall of Fame, to be recognized for anything. Hockey's got a great tradition here in New Hampshire, obviously, and so this is a great event to be part of. I want to tell you a little story about some of you old hockey players know how much the game has changed. I played college hockey in Mount Allison University in New Brunswick back in the late 80s, and my experience with New Hampshire was very different than most. I actually played a game at Dartmouth once and we lost 8-1, but we were, those of you Canadians will know this, we always made a stop in New Hampshire, and it didn't have anything to do with hockey, if you know what I'm saying. It's those big barns on the side of the highway. And back then, as it is today, I believe, they would sell handles of booze. And the border, we had Canadian Heritage Night last night and honored the Canadians, so I can say this. The border patrol in Canada, they didn't much like those handles. They only wanted you to come in with a liter bottle, okay? So we all stocked up on our 1.5 liter or 750s, or handles as we called them back then. And our bus got to the border, and the border guy comes on, and we all had our green cards and all these different things, and we're worried about getting back over. And he says, "Guys, I'm not interested in your citizenship. Let's see the booze." So we all pull it out, and of course they want you to shop at the duty free. And we all pull out our New Hampshire handles, and the guy says, "Well, you got to dump out 25% of that, or you got to leave it here with us." And so my coach at the time, and this speaks a little bit about how hockey was back then, said, "Back it up, boys, we're having a party." So we weren't wasting it. As Jamie mentioned, the Monarchs were very proud of our relationship with the Legends. My predecessor, Jeff Eisenberg, was one of the 3 co-founders, and it was something very, very important for him when I took over to encourage me to be a part of this. We're very proud to be a part of this. As a former hockey player and obviously the president of the Monarchs, we're looking to continue that relationship. Ryan Shelton's on one of the key members of our team. He's on the board, and I think he's doing a wonderful job. He sure goes to a lot of meetings, Dick. You didn't tell me how many meetings he had to go to. He's supposed to be selling tickets. Anyway, last night at the Verizon, we had a great time with the Legends, and we had our Canadian Heritage Night. Despite the Canadian weather, it was a successful night, and we were able to honor the inductees and have a lot of fun. And I think we can continue to work together and move this thing forward and pick up where Jeff took over, or pick up from Jeff and move it forward. And we look forward to it, and we're always going to be a part of this. Speaking from a Monarchs perspective, we're in our 11th season of AHL hockey here. We're proud to support our community. We are an amenity to our community, and I always like to say that when I get up here on the dais, is that we try to support various things. Last year we had our first annual Pink in the Rink night. We raised nearly $50,000 for cancer here with Norris Cotton and CMC Cancer Center. We're very proud of that. Next month, actually, I'm going to try to get Jamie to do this, but he's I don't want to call you a metrosexual up here, but you are a good-looking man. We're all growing we're all growing mustaches for the month of Movember. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, and James not. I'm just trying to guilt him into it right now. But the month of Movember is a month that raises awareness to cancers that affect men. And the Monarchs players, hockey staff, and our staff in the office will all be growing mustaches for the month and raising money. So if you want to jump on our website, and you can hook onto the Movember site and make donations that way. That's just a little plug for something that we'll be doing, and we'll celebrate that night on the 19th of November when we have Mullets in Movember night. And if people have been affected by any kind of cancer, but cancers that affect men, I encourage you to grow a mustache next month. I haven't had a mustache probably since that bus got pulled over. Certainly haven't had a mullet since then, but I'm going to give it a shot. But anyway, we're very, very proud to be a part of it all. And once again, congratulations to everybody being honored here today, and thanks for having us from the Monarchs. To all of you, thank you very much.
I can't wait to see that gray mustache with that jet black hair you have, Darren. That's going to be beautiful. And I would love to take part in that, but I need 1 year notice to be able to come up with a mustache. I'd like to welcome to the podium Father C. Peter Dumont with our invocation, and then it'll be time for lunch. And by the way, while he's coming up, if you saw any of the video that was rolling in the screens, that was the 1932 Winter Olympics in Lake Placid. George Chase from the St. Paul School brought that with him today, and perhaps some of it will roll during lunch, so you can enjoy that.
I have no connection with hockey, except because I don't want to. When I went to school in Sherbrooke, I played hockey once, and when I found out the priests with their cassocks were the goalies, I quit. When I was ordained a priest 1 year, in 1972, Father Drapo observed his 50th anniversary as a priest, and we celebrated together. A couple years later, I was sent to Somersworth with Father Robert Musher. And a couple years later, I was sent to Guardian Angel in Berlin, where being a pastor of Guardian Angel meant you were the treasurer of the arena. Monsignor Lozier called me up. Viens sit. Those of you who don't understand French, ask your neighbor and she'll know how to translate. We're doing business. He was 93, I was 39. I was in that business for 10 years. It was an honor. When Dick Boucher asked me to come here, I said, well, that's fine, Dick. But I said, it doesn't make any sense for me to go up there and claim anything with hockey. So I think what I'll do, Dick, is that I have to pray for snow. I prayed so hard. But I learned in Berlin that you never pray that hard without wearing knee pads. Please stand for the prayer. Oh, by the way, all the speakers before me, they never would have made it as priests. Their sermons were too long. Bénissez-nous, Seigneur, bénissez ce repas, ceux qui l'ont préparé, et procurez du pain à ceux qui n'en ont pas. Bless us, O Lord. Bless these gifts. Bless our companionship and friendship. And give food to those who go hungry this day. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you.
Turn my back to the wind, catch my breath before I start off again. Living on without a moment to spend, to pass the evening with a drink and a friend. I let my skin get too thin. I'd like to pause, no matter what I pretend. Like some pilgrim who loves to transcend, learns to live as if each step was a year. looking back, but I want to look around me now. See more of the people and the places that surround me now. Freeze this moment a little bit longer. Make each sensation a little bit stronger. Make each impression a little bit stronger. Freeze this motion a little bit longer. The innocence slips away. The innocence slips away. Time stands still. Time stands still. I'm not looking back, but I want to look around me now. See more of the people and the places that surround me now. Time stands still. Summer's going fast, nights growing colder. Children growing up, old friends growing older. Freeze this moment a little bit longer. Make each sensation a little bit stronger. Experience slips away. Experience slips away. The innocence.
All right, time for our guest speaker. It is my pleasure to bring up Jeff Sarowick, who weathered the drive all the way from, did you say Dover, Mass? It's glad to have you with us. A class of 2009 New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Hall of Famer. He played at Providence College, 10 years as a professional, including a lot of time in the NHL, and now helping youth with their pro ambitions. Our guest speaker, Jeff Sarowick.
Thank you guys for having me. Thanks for that nice introduction, Jamie. I want to thank Jim and Roland and the rest of the Hall of Fame board for inviting me to speak at this special event. I'd like to congratulate all the past and present inductees and all the guys coming in today. It was quite a thrill when I got inducted 2 years ago. New Hampshire hockey means a lot. It meant a lot to me and really was the foundation of what got me to where I am today. So hats off to the board here for this terrific show. I can't believe all the people that come here and all the familiar faces. I actually just saw Bill Matthews. I haven't seen Bill in a long time. Great coach of mine, and good to see him. This is a very special honor for me. Like I mentioned, New Hampshire hockey for me is where it all started, playing for the Flames. I've been blessed to be involved with hockey for almost 40 years now, which is it's hard to believe. From my early years in youth hockey with the Flames to playing for West High School to playing at Lawrence Academy, Providence College, 10 years pro, and then being involved with my company, Pro Ambitions, working with youth hockey players for over 20 years now. It's hard to believe that I do this for a job and that I do this for a living. I pinch myself every day that I'm able to stay involved in hockey. But driving here today, I was just trying to think about how I was going to handle this speech, and I really think that the best way to sum it up is the full circle thing. This whole hockey thing for me has gone full circle. I was thinking of, there's so many perfect examples, but I tried to give a couple of glaring ones here of how hockey's gone full circle for me. I have a select organization in Nashua, New Hampshire, and watching those kids play the Manchester Flames and watching we're mite to midget, so I watched the little guys, and then 10 years later they're in high school and they're going to college now, so that's a full circle situation for me. Dick Umili, UNH coach, being recruited by Dick, playing for Dick, being inducted into the Hall of Fame with Dick, and then having Dick's grandchildren attend my hockey camps. So that's another full circle situation for me. The Boston Bruins, we're the official camp of the Boston Bruins, and I was blessed enough to have the opportunity to play with Cam Neely and get to know Cam very well over the years, and so that's kind of gave me a good in with the organization to be able to run the camps for them. And obviously this was an extraordinary year, winning the Stanley Cup, and so we had a lot of fun with the kids, and we had our day with the cup and whatnot. But I wanted to tell a quick Cam Neely story. I was with him Thursday night, and I refreshed his memory on this story, but I got called up to Boston, and we had a pregame meal, and we were sitting at the table, and I came in late after the skate, and there was only one seat, so the seat was with Don Sweeney and Ray Bork and Cam Neely and Adam Oates, all the big wheels on the team. And it was the only seat left, so I was the rookie. I went in, I sat down on my seat, and I just kept my mouth shut and ate dinner, shoveled the food in, and didn't say a word. And I did ask Cam, though, to pass the pepper to me. So he passed the pepper. I unscrewed the top of the pepper top off, and because I like a lot of pepper on my steak and my baked potato, and I put the top back on lightly, apparently too lightly, because Cam grabbed it and he went to pour it on his steak, and the whole jar of pepper landed on his steak, and he looked at me, he goes, "Funny rookie," like that. But so I reminded Cam of that story the other day. But Cam was a special guy, and he does a lot of foundation work. And what's most impressive about Cam, aside from his hockey ability and being president of the Bruins, is Thursday night, I have a good friend of mine that has stage 4 cancer, a really good guy, and he's struggling right now. So I brought him to the Bruins game, and I parked underneath the TD Garden, and I texted Cam, and within like a second, I didn't even know if he was in his office. I said, "I have a buddy, can I stop by?" And he texted me right back and said, "Bring him up." So I brought him up, and we sat from 6:30 to 7. This was the Montreal game the other night. He sat and talked to us for a half hour and talked to my buddy and signed autographs and gave him a stick and shirts and whatnot. But that speaks multitude of what kind of guy he is. My other Bruins story is, you guys, I grew up in Bedford, New Hampshire, and we have Goslin Hardware. At the time, we had Goslin Hardware, which was like the mega Dick's hockey store at the time. But I used to get my skates sharpened, and I went in there one day, and Mike Krushelnyski was signing autographs, and I was like 10 years old, and I couldn't believe that I was actually going to meet. It was my first professional athlete I'd met from Bedford, and so I remember I went up to the table, I waited in line, and I shook his hand, and Mike was a menacing guy. They used to call him the Reach. I don't know if you guys remember who he played for the Bruins in Toronto, but I remember he shook my hand, and it felt like he was up by my elbow with his hand, but I remember I didn't wash my hand for about a week. I couldn't believe that I shook a professional athlete's hand, and I was so excited. So getting back to this full circle thing, about 10 years later, I left Providence College, I signed with Toronto, and I went to my first training camp in Toronto. So I walked in the locker room, I was the first one in the locker room, and I saw my name on the stall, and then next to me I saw Krushelnyski, and it was like his 17th year pro. And so I was sitting next to him on his last year pro. It was my first year pro. So we kind of hit it off. We were on the same team in training camp. We had a great training camp together, and we actually played well together, and I made the team. So that was a neat experience. I shared that experience with him. But I also, 2 years ago, I got an email from him. I haven't talked to him for years. He sent me an email asking me if his son could work at my camp. So the whole thing just matriculates and goes around in full circle. And then I wanted to lastly just discuss the Bobby Orr thing. Obviously, Bobby was my hero growing up, along with Ray Bork. But Bobby, from first grade to 8th grade, you have your required reading in the summer. You're supposed to read a book and write a report and bring it to school. Now our kids have like 10 books. But my book of choice every single year was the Bobby Orr story. I read it in first grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. I changed the wording a little bit, age appropriate, but I had the same report every year handed in. I finally got caught in 8th grade. I think the teachers caught on to it, so I had to do another report, but somehow I got through it. But Bobby, my agent was JF, and they merged agencies, and I went in for my meeting, my annual after the season meeting, And Bobby Orr walks into the office. I was sitting down and talking to Jay, and Jay just took Bobby on as a partner with Wolf Agency. So I didn't know that he was even with him. So he sat down, tapped me on the shoulder. Jeffy boy, how you doing? He's got a big bag of carrots. He's eating carrots and spitting carrot all over, and he's talking to me. He goes, "We got to get you a nice contract this year, Jeffy boy." But I was just pinching myself when I left there. I'm like, Bobby Orr's my agent now. I can't even believe this. So that was neat. And then lastly is full circle is all the guys that I've had the luxury of playing with. You know, there's so many guys. I made a list here just of guys that I play with that I was teammates with, and it's amazing how we were players riding on buses and playing in college and playing pickup games in the summer. And now a lot of these guys are major heavyweights in the NHL. They're coaches, they're GMs, they're presidents, they're guys that moved on. I mean, guys like John Ferguson, he was a GM in Toronto, and he's with San Jose now. Tom Fitzgerald, he's with Pittsburgh, and Andy Brickley and Tony Amonte, Jeremy Roenick, all these guys that I played with, had affiliations with, and I still talk to on a day-to-day basis. It's really nice to have a Rolodex of guys like that, especially the industry that I'm in with hockey camps, to be able to, you know, take drills out of their mindset and be able to discuss hockey with them. But the John Ferguson one is one of my funniest stories. I might not tell it as well, but I'm going to try. Old man Fergie, John was my teammate at Providence College, and his dad, John Ferguson Sr., who passed away a couple years ago, was a big, tough, I believe, forward for the Montreal Canadiens. He won 4 Stanley Cups, and he was a tough customer. So he had the most penalty minutes at the Boston Garden. So when they closed the Garden down, they gave him the penalty box. So they gave Terry O'Reilly the home box, and I think Terry now put it on wheels, and he takes it to signing sessions. So if you see a truck going down the highway, Terry might have the penalty box on the back going to the event. But John Ferguson got the away box, so they sent him the box via freight or via train, and it never got there. Someone stole it along the way. So someone right now is a hero in their Mantown basement having beers with their friends in the away penalty box. But Fergie was a tough customer, as I mentioned. The best part of the story was it was like his middle of his career. He just won his 3rd Stanley Cup. And it was, he was in Montreal, and he opened the paper up. It was like a July day, and the Canadiens just signed their 1st-round pick, and this was another tough guy. And the 1st-round pick said, "I'm coming into camp, and I'm taking Ferguson down. I'm kicking his ass, and I'm taking his job." So Fergie got on a flight that day, and he flew to Saskatchewan to this kid's house. And he knocked on the guy's door, true story, knocked on the guy's door and said, "Let's have at it right now. We'll get this thing done before camp and figure out who's going to make this team." So that was the generation. The game's changed a little since then. And then lastly, I want to just speak a little bit about hockey and what I do and how I've seen the growth in hockey development-wise in New Hampshire. I remember when I started my select organization, you know, I remember the number of kids trying out, and each year it gets bigger and bigger, but I think there must have been like maybe 2,000 kids in New Hampshire hockey when I was doing that, and I'm looking up some stats today. I think there's over 9,000 or 10,000 kids playing youth hockey that are registered through USA Hockey. You know, there's 500,000 kids in the U.S. playing hockey now, boys and girls hockey is exploding. And I think that, you know, you guys, the NBC signed a 10-year, $2 billion contract, so we're going to have games on NBC this year, which is unbelievable. You know, looking back with the days that we had to put the rabbit ears on to watch the games on Channel 38. But so hockey's good, it's growing, and I think we were just talking at our table about the speed of the game. I went to the Bruins game, like I mentioned the other night, and that game was slow compared to, you guys watched the Vancouver series last year in the playoffs, or the Montreal series. I've never seen hockey that fast and what these guys are capable of. So it's a game of skill now, and it's a game of speed. And you know, there's still physical elements to it, but that's kind of the stuff that we work on in our camps. Kids are work their butts off, and sometimes hockey parents are crazy, as we know. I love working with the kids. The parents sometimes can stay on the side, but their heart's in the right place and their intentions are in the right place. But I think, you know, the biggest thing for me is, and if you have a chance this week, go to my website. I just did a new video intro for my camps, and I think it says it all, kind of how I feel about it. I really feel my slogan now is, it could be me and it should be me. And I say that because I think that if a kid looks in the mirror, whether he's a squirt player, a pee-wee player, a kid that wants to make Plymouth State, or a kid that wants to play D1 or play semi-pro or pro or make the chess team or whatever it is that he wants to make, you have to look in the mirror and you have to say, it should be me, it could be me, and anything's possible. And I'm a perfect example of that, because I was a little buck-toothed kid growing up in New Hampshire, and I made it to the NHL, and it was a long road, but anything's possible. So we try to pass it on to our campers. And once again, all the inductees, congratulations today, and thank you for your time.
We're here to honor the Sacred Heart Hockey Club. You see the beautiful jersey up here, and we have 5 alumni members of that team. If we could please have them come to the stage. Tom Champagne, Barney Colgan, Pike Colgan, Red Adams, and Bill Rice. Please come up. All right, we have a proclamation, actually a citation from the governor that we'll read for you. This is from the governor of the state of New Hampshire, John H. Lynch. The Sacred Heart Hockey Club, which was recognized by the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey at the 2011 New Hampshire Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The dedication your organization has given to the sport of hockey over the years is admirable. On behalf of the citizens of New Hampshire, I commend the Sacred Heart Hockey Club for the hard work, energy, and commitment it has given, and wish all the best for the future.
It's an honor for the Sacred Heart hockey team to be recognized by the Legends of Hockey. For the 5 of us who are being honored today, it is a very meaningful experience. Many hard-working people have made the Legends of Hockey what it is today, a tribute to hockey in New Hampshire. Congratulations to all those who have been inducted into New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Hall of Fame. We would like to thank Barney Colgan for all his hard work in researching and organization of the history of the Sacred Heart hockey. He must have spent many hours having these pictures and players enlarged and framed. Nice going, Barney Colgan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've honored many great teams over our first 10 years, each playing an important role in the history of hockey in New Hampshire. In the beginning, it was the Manchester Blackhawks our first year, the very first year, then the Maroons, the Concord Budmen. And by the way, there's many players for all these teams here today. Then it was the UNH Wildcats, St. Paul's School, Dartmouth College, Phillips Exeter Academy, and then the Notre Dame Rams, and finally last year, the original Manchester Monarchs team. This year, of course, we're recognized Sacred Heart Hockey Club of Concord. It's selected by the board of directors at our recent meeting and will be recognized next year. They played their first season in 1921-22, won their first of 9 state titles on February 19th, 1963, and their last on March 6, 1976. In total, they have competed in 28 state high school championship title games. They won the New England tournament in '67, were run-up the following year, and this season marks their 84th season of competition. Please give a warm round of applause to the Berlin High School Mountaineers and their alumni in attendance.
And now we begin what we all came here for, to meet our 6 inductees into the Hall of Fame and welcome them into our hall. And we begin with Carl Red Adams from right here in Concord, New Hampshire. He grew up directly across from White Park. You can only imagine how many hours he spent there lacing them up. Went on to play for the Concord High School Crimson, won 2 state championships, kept it in the Granite State, went to UNH and was a top scorer, but also described as a great team player. Then he went on to wear the Sacred Heart jersey. And what an athlete he was, also an outstanding pitcher and a bowler, winning the City Bowling Championship in 1961. Please welcome to the New Hampshire Hockey Legends Hall of Fame, class of 2011, Carl Red Adams.
You mean I gotta speak? I'd like to take you back a few years for this one. In the winter of 1935, the Concord Police Department assigned an officer to White Spark Pond. And as many of you know, White Spark Pond is a very important skating area. The officer they assigned that year to take care of White Spark Pond was named Tom Andrews. And his busiest job was to keep the hockey sticks off the pond. And so, as he was doing that, he realized that the kids missed a place to play hockey, and all the kids wanted to play hockey. So Tom Andrews organized what was popularly known as the White Spark League, because they played all their games at White Spark. There was also Rollins Park, Fosterville, and West End had teams, and several others that I don't remember now. But kids from all over Concord were interested in getting into the White Spark League, and anybody 14 and under could join, anybody in the town. And all the kids gathered at White Spark. It became pretty obvious that there was a limit on ice time with so many kids, because there was hundreds of them. So Fonzie Chiarello, who was in charge of officiating the games, decided that he would cut down on the amount of minutes per period. And so they limited the periods to 10 minutes straight time, no timeouts at all. And that way, there was not enough kids had a chance to play hockey. And as far as I know, that was the earliest organized youth hockey anywhere in the city. This was back in 1935. And from that on, Tom gave all the kids at the end of the season a patch, similar to one worn on the shoulders of the Monarchs last night, about 4 or 5 inches in diameter. It had 2 crossed hockey sticks with the letters WPL on it. And every kid in town got one. And they were really interested in those patches. You'd see them everywhere. After that, I went on to the high school 38 and 39 varsity. 1 year at Tilton School, 1940. I played freshman hockey at UNH in 41, because in those days, freshmen had to play in their own class. And 42 was the only year that I played varsity. And I was unanimous first team all in New England that year. 43 and 4, the varsity was canceled because of the war. In 45 and 52, I played for the Sacred Heart. And after that, I played for the Manchester Industrial League for the Public Service of New Hampshire. And that lasted until 1974. And somebody says, why'd you quit then? You could still skate. I said, well, I heard the two opposed defensemen talking. One of them says, on the next shift, we're going to get that old man. So I figured then it was time to quit. I wanted to say that I'm the luckiest guy alive today to be associated with this organization, thanks to Jim, Tommy Champagne, Rick Boucher, and the rest of the crew. And I'm glad to see all my relatives here, too. Thank you very much.
Carl Red Adams, congratulations. I think everybody in the room, or most everybody, knows him as Coach Dana Barbin, but he is being elected as a player today, largely as a player from Exeter, New Hampshire, one of the most gifted offensive players in New Hampshire hockey history, one of only 3 natives in the Granite State to score 100 or more career points for the Wildcats. The other was Frankie Roy, one was Frankie Roy, and the other is from Derry, Paul Thompson, who did it last year. And last night, Paul skated for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Pioneers against the Manchester Monarchs. Good timing on that one. Dana Barbin, a gifted 3-sport athlete, also suited up and played football and baseball at Exeter High School. He played in the New Hampshire-Vermont Shrine Maple Sugar Football Bowl, continued his hockey career after UNH, played in Copenhagen, Denmark, and Sweden, but then returned home, took a job at Phillips Exeter, where he's been coaching the Big Red since 1992. New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, proud to induct into their Hall of Fame class of 2011, Dana Barbin.
I think so. Thanks a lot, Jamie. I've been given a lot of advice here this morning from my table. Talk slowly. My wife also, she bought me some new clothes recently for this day. I have the reputation at Exeter Academy as being the worst dressed faculty member and the only guy who doesn't wear a coat and tie the entire year. So she knew I was not going to wear those clothes today. She tells me that these pants have stains on them. And I said, look where we're going. All hockey players have stains on their pants. My son texted me about a half an hour ago. Henrik's 14 years old, and he had a lot of homework to do today, and I thought that was a good idea that he stay home and do homework. But he texted me, he's over at the Academy rinks playing shinny. So I told him, I said, you get home, do your homework. And he was fussing about his skates, that the edges he had today weren't sufficient. And I said, well, I have something on my mind today, Henrik. Sorry about that. I did ask my table here for some advice today and through email. And if you can see my table with Peter Marr and Johnny Norman, and Shaky Evans, I can't repeat many of those stories that they gave back to me through email. One of the gentlemen at my table is Peter Bragdon, the esteemed headmaster from Governors. And Peter sent me a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. I'm not sure what the hell it was, Coach, but that went over my head, that Teddy Roosevelt. But he ended his email in typical fashion, cover the away post. Every Friday in Exeter, we have a great skate, a bunch of old-timers for about an hour and a half. We call ourselves the Vets. And when we come off the ice, we drink a few root beers together and tell countless stories of our glory days. Yeah. In my bio, I'm quoted as saying, if you read it, that I don't think so much about my playing days. Well, my wife almost choked on her salad when she read that because, in fact, she says I don't think about much of anything else. Well, long before I was a vet, I was a little pecker looking for a place to play any game, football, hockey, or baseball, it didn't matter. Let me share with you, and I hope I'm not here too long, some of my hockey memories. Learning to skate and play the game on the 9th hole pond at the Exeter Country Club, the Exeter River, and on Bill Warazak's backyard pond. The opening of the 8th wonder of the world was completed in 1969. Known to us townies as simply the Academy, Phillips Exeter opened its brand new facility where best friends Ricky Bass, Jimmy Barron, and I skated morning, noon, and night. We got thrown out of the rink so often that George Crow, who was coach at the Academy at the time, I kicked in the panel of a door so I could sneak on, and he happened to be there looking down, and he said, "Dana, I'm sick of throwing you out. You can stay all you want." Playing bantam hockey for a 20-year-old college kid named Jimmy Tufts, Jimmy and his college sweetheart, Leslie, drove us all over New England. I think Jimmy knew most of us were hopeful to ride with the 19-year-old knockout rather than ride with him. Jimmy's lifetime of coaching began with us and continues 40 years later, and I hope one day will be recognized by the legends. Driving to the North Pole for the first time, Berlin, New Hampshire, and wow, the smell. Watching Cecil LeCurn score 14 goals against Winnicott High School on a Monday night and knowing I've got work to do. What a player. And later that year, rooting for underdog Bishop Brady against Berlin in the semifinals. Sorry, Berlin, I know you've been nominated for next year, but you were a pain in the neck to all of us in the state, you know? And watching Joe Farrelly, who didn't come off the ice the entire night. There he is. Breaking one too many sticks over the boards as a hot-headed sophomore and Coach Peter Clark administering the much-needed discipline of a week off. Those wooden sticks purchased at Louise's Sports Shop for $5. Daily visits to Louise's, an Exeter institution, and chatting with the owners, Mike, Pete, and Charlie, was heaven for a young kid. Appreciating the cold of a Douglas N. Everett arena on a 95-degree summer league game. Trying to get by Berlin in the semis and reminded every day with this chipped tooth, courtesy of Red Gendron, that it wasn't going to come easy, if ever at all. Losing my last high school game to Concord and Captain Tom Champagne, unable to get one more crack at Berlin. Shadowed and shut down all that night by a young giant I later learned was a pretty good defender named Kent Carlson. Watching a 5'6", 140-pound defenseman named Paul Powers play for UNH and thinking if he can do it, so can I. Getting a rejection letter from Phillips Exeter for a postgraduate year, and my high school football coach, Dick Eustace, telling me things will work out and knowing he would do everything he could to make that happen. Welcoming Kent School coach and director of admissions, Peter Bragdon, to our home after a long drive from Kent, Connecticut. Afterwards, my mother saying, "You're in good hands with that man." Playing on a Kent team with 9 future Division I players and understanding an important lesson for prep school coaching: recruit talent and don't count on a freshman goalie. UNH assistant coach Dave O'Connor approaching me after a February game at Kent School and offering me a scholarship. Trying to decide between 3 college options and seeing UNH's 10-9 double overtime win over Cornell in the 77 semifinals at the Garden and thinking that's the defensive system I want to play in. Meeting UNH coach Charlie Holt for the first time, and when I tell him the 3 schools I'm trying to decide on, he says, "I cannot in good conscience tell you to come to UNH over Dartmouth," and being impressed by his honesty. Receiving Coach Holt's summer workout program, following it to a T every day, and arriving at UNH to hear upperclassmen Frankie Roy and Johnny Norman whining, "What, has Charlie gone senile?" And I was thinking, it's only dry land testing, but for once I'm going to beat some guys from Berlin. Being called into Charlie's office a few months later after a 1-6 start and being informed that he's moving me and 2 other forwards back to defense. Winning the next 10 in a row, led by a goaltender whose name would naturally infuse his teammates with confidence, Mark Shaky Evans. How's that for young goalies who come to Exeter every year? Meet your goalie coach, Shaky Evans. College summers working for Sid Watson at the Bowdoin Hockey School, the clinic, playing on a line with Ralph Cox for 3 months and figuring out, throw it his way and, you'll get on the score sheet. UNH's first ECAC title with Captain Bobby Gould, number 17, scoring the 3-2 winner over Dartmouth, and the great Greg Moffat in goal, exhausted in victory, losing 4-3 to Herb Brooks's Minnesota Gophers. Playing with Sean Cody, the toughest, meanest cat with no skill you ever saw. Cut from the program as a freshman, he hung around sharpening skates, skating on his own all year. He was named Unsung Hero in the East the following year and served as assistant captain and captain for 3 seasons. Quite a story. The same kid, Sean Cody, not allowing Bobby Francis to quit as a junior. Bobby hadn't gotten in the lineup yet and wanted to stop, and watching the two of them come to blows over it. Bobby got a chance. He scored 72 points from Christmas to the end of the year, second in the nation, became a captain the next year, and later NHL Coach of the Year. And that year at the banquet, Charlie Holt apologizing to Bobby, the gentleman that he was. Setting up for a face-off, in the infamous Pierre Belanger saying, "Watch that stick, you Yeah. Yes, sir. Seeing my college roommate, Skip Swazinski, the best athlete Exeter has ever produced, sticking his nose through the fencing at UNH, yelling at me, "Shoot the puck, will ya?" Traveling to Copenhagen, Denmark with Frank Barth to meet former UNH great Richard David to decide if we want to play overseas. Richard picks us up at the airport, takes us to a nice park. It's a beautiful April day. He has a plastic bag of beers with him. We sit down, we have a beer with our future coach. There's blonde Scandinavian girls everywhere. And Frank looks at me and says, "Barb, we're gonna like it here just fine." Being a foreign hockey player, learning the Danish language, our club moves up to the Elite Series. The following year, we win the gold medal. One night, out on the town, in walks the one for me, my Anna Billing. She's out of my league, but the pursuit is on. 11 months later, she says I do, and the following day, this lucky girl spends her honeymoon taking a ferry to Malmö, Sweden, to watch another hockey game in a long line of hockey games. Coaching the Danish national team, winning the '87 Group C World Championships, I'm almost done, and advancing to the Group B. Today, the Danes are in Group A. Watching Kyle McDonough play for UVM at the Garden and phoning Richard David to say, "You've got to get this kid." Months later, Richard calls me from Denmark and says, "This McDonough kid, he doesn't have a second effort. He's got a third, fourth, and fifth effort." One of the best kids I've ever watched. Al Esty offering me a job at PA, and my wife's reaction, "You want me to move from Copenhagen, Denmark to Little Exeter?" Meeting the Bear, Hopkinton's Dave Sheen, his son Colin, and friend Russ Bartlett choose to attend Exeter, and we start to get better. Wyndham's Bartlett scores 287 points over his 4 years, our all-time leading scorer. Disciplined for recruiting violations and unable to go inside the New England Sports Center, where my team plays for the '99 New England title, sitting alone on the bus as a knock on the door, and Governor's headmaster Peter Bragdon says, "If you can't go inside, neither will I." On our second day together outside on the bus, we look to the front of the building where my wife comes out the doors doing cartwheels. Led by Manchester's own Captain Greg Boucher and the OT winner by Josh Pruden, the New England title was ours. Vet hockey, still in our prime. 20 years ago, we began a decade run of vet championships, the most memorable of which is UMaine Blackbeard Tournament. The best hockey player ever from Exeter is a kid sitting right there, Peter Marr. He's a traitor, really. He left Exeter for Canterbury, played for UMaine. He was a great player overseas. But now, as a vet, he's Johnny Norman's setup guy. And he leads the way year after year. And he celebrates every win with a margarita the size of Maine. Getting Eddie Caron, Hudson's own Eddie Caron, in his line on the ice as much as possible in the 2001 season. Eddie Caron, a second-round draft pick, playing with 2 fourth-round draft picks, Colin Fitzrandolph and Tommy Cavanaugh. I was a hell of a coach that year. Spending a week with my son Henrik and my team in Italy and Switzerland a few years ago, the tension in the locker room moments before an Exeter-Andover hockey game, enjoying victories with Bill Dennehy and friends at the hockey bar, drinking alone with Bill at the hockey bar after losses, others knowing well enough to stay away, seeing Henrik Barben enjoy the game, coaching his youth teams over the last several years, buying Henrik a composite stick last week for $250. Excited, looking forward to another season in 2 weeks, and finally recognizing what a fortunate, amazing life because of this game and education. A few weeks ago, Greg Moffat, the great Greg Moffat, told me that today would be more emotional than I imagined, and Greg, you were right. My father, Rene, he used to embarrass me as a kid, yelling in French at all my games. He was very demanding, but it served me well. My mother, Rachel, she was the greatest. None of us stand at this podium without the love and support of our parents, of course, the help and guidance of many coaches, and the friendship of terrific teammates. Thank you very much for today.
Our next inductee, longtime resident of Concord, New Hampshire, grew up in northern Minnesota, where a lot of great hockey players came from his hometown, including the Broughton brothers, but he ended up at UNH playing for the great Charlie Holt. And then after UNH, continued his career playing for the Concord Eastern Olympics and set up shop here in the capital. Got into officiating for a little while in the late 1970s, but then returned to the ice playing for the Budmen, skating in the Capital City League. He also coached in the Concord Youth Hockey League, and he is still playing today. We welcome New Hampshire Legends of Hockey to the class of 2011 Hall of Fame, Ryan Brandt.
Thank you. Bob, I only have 4 pages to go through, so hang with me. Dana, you must be a lot younger than me, because how do you remember all of that information? When I received the phone call from Steve Arndt a while ago, letting me know he had nominated me for the Legends Hall of Fame, and that Jim Hayes would be contacting me for some time for some personal hockey information, I said, "Are you sure it's Ryan Brandt and not the other guy from Minnesota?" I thought I'd hear more from that crowd over there. But, I'm very humbled with this recognition, and certainly honored to be inducted into the Hall of Fame along with Red Adams. Enjoyed the stories that your group had last night. Just tremendous listening to some of the old-time hockey. And I'm almost to that stage where I can talk about some of the old-time hockey as well. And it certainly is something that I endure and will endure for a long time. Going in with Red Groshue, the picture that is out in the hallway of Red, I was certainly glad that number 3 of the Olympics wasn't on the bottom of that pile. The first paragraph written on there relative to the Montreal Police, and I certainly respect Red because he was probably one of the strongest guys around, and when he's on the ice refereeing, you knew that he was going to take care of everything. The Montreal Police came down, well, and we thought that there would be some law and order with the police, but not in this case. Red brought the law, but there was no order, and I'm not sure if we even finished that game. Sandy Sister making it possible for girls to play hockey at St. Paul's School, and certainly opening the door for my daughter to play later on. Dunk Walsh, certainly an outstanding coach, and I know playing with him in the Capital City League and now on Thursday nights, certainly a great player as well. Dana, I know from years past and talking with Dave Sheen that you are one of the more determined players and coaches, that there's nothing else other than to win. You don't take losing to heart, and that is terrific. There are a few people that I would like to recognize that have made it possible for me to get to this point on the stage. Being that I grew up in northwestern Minnesota, there's no more amazement than coming from my heart, how did I end up in Concord? Grew up in a small town in Minnesota. Salo had a population probably 27, but had a nice outdoor rink that we used frequently. Went on to high school at Roseau and played most of, well, actually only 2 years of high school, as there was a large group of very good hockey players that came out of there. Not sure what I was going to do after that, except that I did get a call from Rube Bierkman. And Rube Bierkman made that step possible for me to get out here to UNH. But he first of all had to have some belief in me that I could play Division I hockey, and also to let me know that there is hockey outside of Minnesota. He also mentioned that for the Durham area, the Durham community, that the fans were terrific, the community was terrific, had a great support for hockey. And after coming out here and spending only really the first few weeks, that was definitely true. Rube lasted till 1968. That was my sophomore year, first year playing for him as a coach, and then he left. He regrets leaving that after looking back from all these years, but it also opened the door for Charlie Holt. And Charlie was a teacher coach for me. He's a coach that I learned probably the most about hockey. And for that, he certainly has the greatest respect for me. I want to backtrack just a little bit and note for Red Adams on this, because as I was looking back at some of Rube Bierkman's biography, Rube played on the 1952 Silver Olympic team and probably was here playing the Sacré-Cœur team back in '52. So that was very interesting to read about. After graduation, or with graduation coming fairly close, there's 3 things that I needed to accomplish. One was a military commitment, needed employment, that was the biggie, and hopefully be able to play hockey at the same time. And the contact person in Concord was Bob Tardif. Without Bob Tardif, I'm not sure that I would have made it to Concord. But he made the contact for the National Guard, made the contacts for employment at Merrimack Valley High School, and obviously had the contacts because he was the Concord Eastern Olympics at that time. And that brought me to Concord. Sometimes you're amazed how decisions are made and how things happen and how you get to where you are, and that it ends up being the best possible thing. I also need to recognize someone else, and that's my wife, Jane, sitting over in the far corner here. New Hampshire native from Bedford, and having witnessed what it takes to get to Roseau, northwestern Minnesota, and seeing what there is in a town of about 2,700 people, there would be little chance that we would move back to Roseau. We married and stayed in Concord, with Jane teaching at Concord High, or at least starting out at Concord High, providing some math lessons to the likes of Rudd's, Champaign, Fournier, Duster, and I'm sure some lessons in the penalty box as well. Thank you. I want to add one more thing on that. With the 40 years of marriage, also came along with 40 years of hockey equipment orders, and old hockey equipment, because I still have some of the equipment that I wore back in the early 70s. And Jane hasn't kicked me out of the house yet because of that. Thank you, Jane. I'd also like to introduce my daughter, Liz, who has recently picked up playing ice hockey. She played JV at St. Paul's when she was in high school, and now continues to play the game. And her husband, Mark Bozick, who is New Hampshire native, Manchester native. Teaches math, kind of keep it in the family, as my wife teaches math as well. I'm not sure how that really works out. And also the head hockey coach at St. Paul's School. And last, I'd like to recognize Steve Arndt, one for providing my name to the legends, but most importantly, for sharing his passion and enthusiasm for the game of hockey. As you age, although I'm not sure if I've got to that point yet, but close to it, it would be easy to call it quits. But with Steve coming across with, isn't this a great game to play? Or, hey, isn't this game great that we can still play after all these years? And isn't it always a great day for hockey? And with that, you just can't really quit. Sorry, Jane. So now that we're playing in our 60s and have participated in a few 60-plus tournaments, the 70-plus bracket isn't that far away. Sorry, Jane, again. Hopefully we'll make it. I guess with that, though, as you look back over the years that I've been involved with hockey in New Hampshire, it hasn't been, I mean, part of it obviously are those that have made the critical steps for me to get to where I am. But the rest of it is the fans, the community, and the players that you're involved with. It includes the fans that made Snively lively back in the late 60s when Snively was brand new. There would be lines waiting to get into Snively, and it was a very rowdy bunch, but it was great to play for. The fans in Concord that would be waiting in line on a Saturday night to get into the Everett Arena, travel to Manchester, travel to Lowell, to Braintree, to Framingham, to Fitchburg. That was really significant and very important for me as a player. And the players that I had at UNH. We just recently had a reunion of basically the graduating class of 68 through 72, the same time that, or at least Rube Bjerkman was responsible for most of the recruits. Some that I hadn't seen since 1970. Fantastic. The players from the Concord Eastern Olympics that still have some contact. Players from the Budman. Players from even the opponents from Manchester, where during those times you could, I guess me, Pierre, standing toe-to-toe in front of the net, I'll just say arguing over which beer we should have after the game. But then later on, being able to play with them and sharing that same beer over in the locker room or at a table. You end up with some great friends. Players that you had, that I had with the Concord Industrial League, the Capital City Hockey League, the Thursday Night League, the Red and Blue Greens, Our Lady of the Blue Line on Sunday morning. All of those players and people that you know, the contacts that you have through hockey is what really is meaningful. And that's what I want to think about. And I want to thank all of you for being here, because this is a tremendous group. It really brings us together. And hockey is a family. Thank you very much.
Next, we have one tough hockey official, that's for sure. He grew up in Concord, one of 8 children, went to Sacred Heart Church in Concord, went to Concord High School, played hockey there, then played for Sacred Heart after that, and then the Concord Shamrocks. Also part of starting the Concord Youth Hockey Association, a huge part of that. And it's at that point really where he got into officiating big time, would end up doing more than 100 games per season for quite a long time. Leonard Red Brochu passed away in June of 2007 at the age of 73, accepting for his late father as Len Brochu. New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, proud to bring into the Hall of Fame class of 2011, Leonard Red Brochu.
On behalf of my family, this is a great honor for us. That being said, I wish my father was here, for all the obvious, but also so he could be up here talking and not me. Most of you knew my father. The key speaker talked about full circle, 6 degrees of separation. As I hear everybody talk up here, it's amazing how everything's intertwined. I played with Ryan for the Budman, played with Dunk Walsh. Dunk Walsh coached my nephews to championship hockey. But this is about my father, and he was a man of few words, so will I will be too. But when he talked to you, you knew he was talking to you. He was a great husband, a great father, great grandfather. He instilled the love of the game in myself and my kids and all my nephews. He taught me all about hockey and also about the rinks. And he was somebody that did things. He didn't just tell me about it. He was out there until the day he died, flooding the rinks with me. When we'd go away on vacation, he'd have the crew over there and he'd be there all day working on the rinks so my kids could play when we came back from vacation. I would stand out there in the cold with him and he'd tell stories of how he learned how to do that at the Sacred Heart rink. And in between floods, they used to go into the boiler room and play cards, have a little nip here and there. He talked about how we'd go out to St. Paul's when he was a kid, get used hockey equipment, used sticks from the players. We always had relatives that worked out there, so he was always allowed to be around the players. St. Paul's has played a huge factor in our life, and hockey and everything's intertwined in Concord that I can see with that. He used to talk about skating. First thing, and hopefully it gets cold and you have ice before we have the snow. Hopefully the snow melts this year. But he used to talk about which ponds froze first, the ones up behind Christian Science Building, Thayer's Pond, and then White's Park, and then out to Turkey Pond. And how the black ice used to roll and you could see it move, and I used to tell him I'd wait till it got gray. I don't want to skate on the black. When he was officiating, I was a little rink rat. He used to take me all over the New England to all the different games. Couldn't do that now because he'd be on the ice and I'd be in a different state. Just couldn't do it anymore, but that was good times. John Healy was always one of his counterparts. He'd help with Pierre, all the great old officials. Hockey for my father was an escape. If you know him, he was the hardest working man there was. Worked till the day he died. And he brought that onto the ice with him, whether he was coaching or officiating. He worked the game hard. In closing, and everyone has said it already, but I did write it down. I'm not just copying people. The thing that I think he enjoyed most about hockey was the camaraderie and the lifelong friendships that he made along the way. Again, I'd like to say thank you for this honor. My family will treasure it forever. Thank you.
Now to our 5th of 6 inductees this afternoon, Sanford Sandy Sister from Springfield, Massachusetts. We should call him Coach Sandy Sister. Really best well known for starting the girls hockey program at St. Paul's School. He was the first ever girls coach there, hockey coach. He coached roughly 80 girls, many of which went on to play Division I and Division III college. A lot of Ivy League players, places like Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Brown, also schools like Bowdoin and Middlebury. The female player at St. Paul's who distinguishes herself in individual and team play each year earns the Sanford R. Sister Memorial Award. He passed away 3 days before Christmas in 2008. Accepting for his late father is Art Sister. New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, pleased to bring into their Hall of Fame, class of 2011, Sanford Sandy Sister.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for this opportunity on behalf of my family. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters here today. And on their behalf, we proudly accept this honor and treasure for Sandy, who unfortunately could not be here today, too. Hopefully I won't speak too many more words than Len did, because I want a more special person to come up here and help me. And got to dummy up here a little bit. If I think too much, it's going to be difficult. But Jane Kalinsky, one of Sandy's original former players, is the person who nominated Sandy. So I would like her to come up here and back me up a little bit here. Jane Kalinsky. Oh, there you are. Before I turn it over to Jane, I live out west and don't get back to New Hampshire too much, but in the last 24 hours, it's pretty apparent that hockey in New Hampshire is one big happy family, like some of the other people have alluded to. And I'm pretty sure that Tommy Champagne's related to every 3rd person in the state of New Hampshire. And that goes to show about the family, whether you play hockey or not. Good job, Tommy. St. Paul School was a very instrumental to Sandy, obviously, and there's a big connection between St. Paul School and Concord and hockey in New Hampshire. And there are many St. Paul's people here today. I had to actually write down a few names that I would like to bring up, because I'm indebted to them, because Sandy was indebted to them as well, because he had the opportunity to go and teach and coach at St. Paul's and do what he loved. And I believe that he would be quite humbled today to accept this award, because he would just say, you know, I would have done it anyway. I loved it. You didn't have to give me this presentation and prize, because he did what he loved. But St. Paul's School, the new 13th rector of the school is here. Mike Hirschfeld, the athletic director, Scott Heitmiller, Bill Matthews, former rector, recently retired hockey coach, rector, you name it, everything. Lee Blossom's out here. George Chase, the new girls ice hockey coach who I just met today, Heather Farrell. She's over there at that table. I just met her today, and she's Sandy's successor by several times. But it's one big happy family, and we do appreciate this honor. Jim Hayes has been great. And the board, and Roland Olivier, I can't thank you guys enough for giving us this opportunity to receive this. And I'll close by thanking everyone for their attendance, and turn it over to Ms. Kalinsky, who can fill you in on the facts and details.
Thanks, Art. So, as Art said, I was one of Coach Sandy Sister's early players. I'm originally from Nashua. Little shout out to Nashua. And there were 7 of us who nominated him for this award. And we're thrilled. Speaking on their behalf, we're thrilled that the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey saw fit to induct him into his Hall of Fame today. Listening to everyone else speak, I'm impressed at the depth of the history of hockey in New Hampshire. Women's hockey is essentially in its infancy. And while I'm impressed by the depth, I was also speaking to the girls' coach. I'm so amazed at how far it's come. It was such a different place when we were playing in the 80s from where girls are playing now today. So Sandy was the first coach at St. Paul's. He gave his heart and soul to the program and its players. He was instrumental in its early success. He built the program, he built the players, and in doing so, he built a legacy. In '79, 2 girls went to then athletic director, who probably many of you may know, Bud Blake, asking to form a girls-only team. Bud thought of Sandy to be the coach, and it was a great match. The girls played on their own club team on the pond for a year, and Sandy and Bud spoke to other programs and researched options as to playing a girls-only team. So the next year, 1980, was the first year of the official girls team. The girls gained confidence, the program had success, not in the win column because the team went 0-4, but they got ice in the rink, And they had a coach who was committed to grow the program and grow the players. So girls had joined the great tradition of hockey at St. Paul's School. One of the team's founding players, Cynthia Ferris, was really impressed with Sandy's way of applying gentle, consistent pressure to see that the team got equipment, ice time, goalie coaching, appropriate games. She said he created change not by huge waves, but in a way that worked within the institution. So that was sort of the administrative side of what he did. And then, of course, he also had to worry about the players, improving their skating, teaching skills, teaching rules, and of course, recruiting. The way Sandy recruited girls back in the 80s is worlds away from how recruiting is done today. Sandy built his teams in an era where the players mostly had no previous experience and were already at the school. Some of us had played pond hockey with our brothers. Others were figure skaters who gave up their white skates and their sparkly dresses to don pads and helmets and sticks. Former figure skaters were actually particularly helpful on D because we could skate backwards. So here's an example of how Sandy recruited for a key position. This is in the words of Suzanne Walker, who played for Sandy in '85 and '86. I was playing club hockey on the pond that winter. One day, coach came and told me to suit up. I believe I practiced with the team one day before riding on the bus to my first ever girls hockey game. It was an away game at the outdoor rink at Oyster River. It was freezing cold. I kept getting whistled for offsides. Coach was apoplectic. Don't you understand offsides? I didn't have the nerve to tell him that I didn't. I got an assist that game, and it was to be my only goal contribution in what became 12 plus years of hockey. The next practice, coach put me in goalie pads. Suzanne, a great athlete, became the most successful goalie in Sandy's coaching career and went on to play in net for Bowdoin Polar Bears. He coached about 80 girls, as Jamie said, in his St. Paul's career. Many went on to play D1 and D3 college programs, and many of these skaters went on to become captains of their team. Sandy was a perfect fit for the first girls hockey coach at St. Paul's, teaching the players the basics of the game and the strategy behind the plays, but also imbuing his players with the love of the game that for many lasts today. Many of these women still play, coach their children's teams, or hold positions on their children's youth hockey boards, sometimes all three at once. His kind, gentle influence was felt far and wide and still spreads like ripples on a pond. In a recent tribute game for the retirement of boys coach Bill Matthews, who's a New Hampshire Hall of Famer himself and who's here with us today, 2 lines of women skated along with the returning men's players, including one retired NHL player. And all but one of the women had played for Sandy, and many are still playing 25 years later. Julie Perry, another early player who's here with us today, estimates she's coached over 300 girls in hockey in the past 30 years since her St. Paul's graduation. She says, it's all because of the passion for the sport that Coach instilled in me, an amazing ripple effect. Several of those girls went on to captain their D1 teams, and in fact, one is now coaching hockey, girls hockey, at the Fay School. His legacy lives on 2 generations later. It was his devotion to hockey, all aspects of hockey, from the details of the game to the bench advice where he would famously yell at us, "Put a nickel in it," to his respect for the players themselves that created the legacy that we honor today. So I'll thank the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Board for their incredible help during this whole process, and we are thrilled that you found him deserving of inclusion in the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Hall of Fame today.
We have one more inductee, and he is a coach, and a really good one. He is, nobody in this room, nobody in this state has probably spent more time in Everett Arena. I think that's pretty fair to say. Actually, played a lot of Concord youth hockey there growing up. Went to Bishop Brady High School, and then came over to the crosstown rival Division I Power Concord, where he's been coaching for a long time. Before that, went to Plymouth State. He still ranks first in goals in a season, assists in a season, and points in a season for an incredible year in 1985-1986. Took over at Concord High School for the 90-91 season as head coach, has won 6 state championships. I wonder if he would tell you that his best ever player on his boys team was actually a girl, 2-time Olympian Tara Monzi. I bet he wouldn't say that, but she's definitely up there among his best. This is great to have a Concord son going into the Hall of Fame with us today, the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey. So happy to bring into the class of 2011 Hall of Fame, Dunk Walsh.
Thanks, Jamie. I remember when Lebo called me in May to tell me, Lebo nominated me, and I remember he called me to tell me you got in, and I was like, oh, that's great, Lebo, but now I got to do two of my things that I can't stand, public speak and dress up. So this is going to be quick, because I got to get these clothes back to Joe Farrelly as soon as I can. But no, I'd like to thank the legends. Jimmy Hayes is amazing, the work he does, and I'd just like to thank the legends for this recognition. I'd also like to recognize the other inductees. I don't know them all, but after reading the bios, it's pretty impressive. I do remember watching Dana Bobbin play as, I think I was in 6th grade, and Ryan Brand had said that Dana's got a great memory. Well, the guys over on that table will tell you that sometimes they call me Rain Man, because I remember everything. But I remember going to a Concord-Exeter game, and it was like a Wednesday afternoon. I don't even know why I would remember that, but it was. And it was like a 1-1 tie, and I remember going home that night and saying, for some reason my father didn't go to the game. He was working, and I said, you should see this guy for Exeter. He's unbelievable. It was a 1-1 tie. I think Timmy Curry played goal for Concord. It was unbelievable. So I do remember watching Dana Bobbin play. And Ryan Brandt plays Thursday nights with us. We have this, if you guys got nothing to do on a Thursday night, you come down to the arena at 9:30. I'm telling you, it is some pretty intense hockey. It's awful. It's terrible hockey, but we have a blast. So, but Ryan Brandt, and I think Ryan's in his 60s. He's in his 60s. I heard him say that. He's still one of the best players in the league. And I'm always glad when Ryan's on my team. We play every week, and we just pull names out of a hat, and it's different teams every week, same guys. And I'm always happy when Ryan's on my team, because if I come down on a one-on-one with Ryan, it's dump and change, get off the ice, because I'm not beating him. But I'd just like to talk briefly about some people that along the way helped, get me to this point. Certainly my parents were such supporters of me, bringing me to games and did the travel thing like everybody. And my parents were like my biggest fans. They went to all my games in high school, and my mother was kind of a typical parent as far as not parent as far as hockey wise. I mean, she wasn't like, she would never like talk to the coach or call the coach, but she really, I think, thought at some point, because I scored a lot of goals back in like Pee-wees and Bams, that I think he's going to play in the NHL someday. And I'm like, my father was like, no, he's okay, but he's not playing. So, but my father was to this day, I've been coaching Concord High for 21 years, and he's I think he missed one game in 21 years. I think he had a class reunion, actually, and I think we lost the game. It was a Trinity game, Christmas tournament, and we lost. And Tara Mounsey, actually, it was that year, the one game we lost. Tara Mounsey had some girls tournament, and for some reason we let her go. I don't even know why, but we lost the game. So, and my mother was a super fan. When I went to college, she didn't go to as many games because I don't know if you guys know, I played at Plymouth, and it's not exactly like sitting at the Verizon Center. I mean, we played at New Hampton School and Holderness School, and the conditions weren't great. It was cold, and it'd be windy and snowy. So, but my father was always there, and since I've been coaching, like I said, he's been a huge fan. And my mother's no longer with us, but she was a wicked fan when I was coaching Concord High, because she would listen on the radio, and she was a Concord High grad, so she was a huge Concord High fan. The only 4 years she wasn't was when I was playing for Brady. So, and speaking of Brady, I love my days at Bishop Brady. There's people that think that, because I got to pull out my speech now because I'm halfway through it, but. I love my days at Brady. I tell you, I had so much fun. I had great friends at Brady. Bruce Gillies, Jimmy Farrelly, Tommy Mammoth were probably my three best friends at Brady. All played hockey. And we had some great times. I'm not going to say we had some great teams, because we did pretty well, but we only had about 6 players. We had a great goalie, so that helped. But what we had most of all, we had a great coach. And my coach was Bud LeCurn in high school, and just the best. And I know a lot of people think like their high school coach was the best, but Bud LeCurn was the best. He was just a great guy, great motivator. You loved playing for him. You wanted to win for him so bad. And he really impacted my playing career and coaching career a lot. And I went to Brady because I couldn't stand Runlet Middle School. I don't know why, it was too big or something. And all my Concord High friends was over there. I know Tilly's saying right now, well, you couldn't have made Concord High anyway, so that's what. But no, I love my Brady days, and we had some battles playing Concord in those days. It was such a neighborhood rivalry, and I mean, Tilly lived right around the corner from me, and we happened to be first cousins, but he lived right around the corner from me, and Smitty lived a few blocks away, and like Bruce and Smitty would just do battle. They would just go at each other, and great goal, both the two best goalies in the league. And Chip Forty was a good friend of mine, Beaver Story, and we would hang out, and then we'd go play each other, and we wanted to beat them so bad, and they wanted to beat us so bad. But great games. Certainly 79, we met in the finals, which was unbelievable. Since then, I've won a few titles, so I'm over it, but I don't know if Bruce is over it, so. Yeah, they squeaked one out that day, 6-1. So the refs killed us that day. It was unbelievable. I went on to Plymouth State, and my college coach is Dave Webster, and he's right over here. And I really appreciate Dave coming today. Let's have a round of applause for Dave. Dave Webster and Chuck Yeager were my coaches up there, and I went up there really not knowing what to expect. And my first 2 years we were bad. We were really bad. And but my last 2 years we got some players in there. My senior year, actually, we lost in the Division III North Finals. We won 19 games that year, which I think is still a Plymouth State most wins in the school history. So I love my time at Plymouth. I was there for 5, only played 4. I was in the pre-med program, so I had to stay an extra year. But then I got out of Plymouth, and they kicked me out in /86, and I got into. I knew I wanted to coach. And there happened to be an assistant coaching job / JV coach at Concord High, so I applied. And Bill Harbrick Sr., the athletic director at the time, hired me, and I was the assistant for 4 years, and then became the head coach. And we've had a great run. And certainly, I mean, it's more about our feeder program. I mean, people that know hockey, which is the majority of this room, you need a good feeder program to have a good program. And Concord Youth Hockey was a great feeder program. We've had great coaches over there, volunteer guys that have coached the kids that I had way before I had them. And I don't know, like the Mike Mounseys and the Bob Nortons and the Steve Arntz and those type of people that volunteer their time that really develop the kids, and then I get them. So I mean, certainly we had a great run in the 90s. We won 4 in a row. We've had some great kids, good players, and just kids that wanted to win, and all about the team. So I want to, really, it's about the feeder program. A couple people I want to thank. I do have to mention my wife, because unlike, I'm not always in this good of a mood. Sometimes when I come home after a game, like Dana was saying earlier, I laugh when Dana said if they lost, he was drinking alone. Stay away. It's just, you want to win. It's the competitive nature. You want to win so bad, and that's why we coach, and we like the game, and we like the kids. But my wife has been there all, she's a Berlin girl too, by the way. So she's been there the whole way through, and the rumor was that my son Dustin's a senior this year, and he plays on our team, and the rumor was like, you're going to give it up after Dustin graduates. I'm like, well, I didn't get into coaching just so I could coach my kid. I mean, I've been coaching for 20-something years. So no, I love coaching. I've been so happy to coach at Concord High. I've been lucky with like somebody was talking about parents. So, some of them are a pain, but you know what? For the most part, I've been so lucky to have a good group of parents, and so I have no intention of leaving. I hope to coach another, 10, 15 years. I don't know. I'd also like to thank one person, a guy that when I got out of college, I got the assisting job, and you think like you play college hockey, you play high school hockey, and you think you know a lot. Well, I came out of college, and I was kind of clueless, really. And Bob Norton's a guy that would talk to me. His kids, Patrick, Ryan, and Brendan, all played for me. And he was a guy that always talked to me and always just, not even tell me stuff like, put my kid on the first line. He would never, ever say that. Just hockey stuff and philosophy and coaching and practices. And he's a guy that really helped me over the years. And there's days that I, like at practice, if we stink some night, and the next day at practice, I think of what Norty told me, what should I do? This is 15 years ago. And even now, he'll show up at my games because he's always out looking at kids, because his son Patrick coaches Tilton. He'll come in the coach's room after the game and say, Dunk, your center zone sucks. And I'll be like, Yeah, I know, Norty, I know. But he's been a big help over the years, and I just wanted to give him credit. I want to thank all my friends over here, the Thursday Night League. Mark Ruddy is the, if you're looking for tickets for next Thursday night, Ruds has got some tickets available. But I want to thank all my friends over there, Philby, Heathy, Hazy, Bruce, the whole crew, both Philbricks, Smitty and Tilly. Tilly is my best friend, and when I moved from the south end to the north end when I was 11, it was the best thing ever because I got to hang out at White Park and got to know all those guys, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. White Park was a place we used to go all the time and just play hockey or play boot hockey, or sometimes to just be over there and shooting on the net, playing posts. There's only a few of us over there, so we're just trying to hit all the different posts. So it was a great place to hang out as a kid, and great memories from those days. So I want to thank everybody, and I really appreciate this honor. Thank you.
New Hampshire hockey legend Dana Barban is with us from Exeter. And Dana, first of all, congratulations on this great honor.
Thank you, Ken. It's a great day in my life.
Well, that is terrific. It is very meaningful for someone who's been around the hockey wars in this state as long as you have, going back to your days at Exeter High School, a 3-sport star there. Was hockey always number one with you?
Yeah, although, I was a kid who just wanted to play the next sport, whether it was football, hockey, baseball. I was excited for the next sport whenever it came. But at some point in my life, I realized that hockey was something that I could, do in college and maybe beyond. So that became number one.
But you were outstanding in all three. I know after Exeter, you went to a prep school in Connecticut and dominated the prep schools, and had a great career there for a year in hockey and baseball and football.
Yeah, I don't know if I dominated, but it was a great year in my life down some wonderful people, Peter Bragdon and Cy Theobald from Kent. They happened to be two Exeter guys who knew my high school football coach real well, and so that year, it was a great year in my life. As I said, it meant from there that I had options, and in the end, I ended up selecting the University of New Hampshire as my college, and what's better for a Seacoast kid than playing at UNH?
Was that always number one for you, playing for UNH? Was that always your top choice?
Well, as a young kid in high school, I'd go to the games, of course, and see fellas like Gordy Clark and Cliff Cox, Jamie Hislop, all those legendary players. And so you start to think as you look out there, geez, wouldn't it be something to play there? And that came to pass. So.
Well, only 3 New Hampshire-born players with 100 points or more have played at the University of New Hampshire, and you're one of them, and also made it to a Frozen Four in your time at UNH.
Yeah, I got to thank Paul Thompson there for, getting to the 100-point mark last year. Frankie Roy and I got a lot of publicity out of that. And, in my time at UNH, I was mentioning to you earlier, Ken, that the class a couple years ahead of me with Frank Roy and Bobby Gould and Ralph Cox, Bruce Crowder, Terry Flanagan, it was an outstanding senior class that took us out to Detroit for the 79 Frozen Four.
And that, I know, lost in the first round to Herb Brooks' squad, but it had to be quite a thrill to play at the old Detroit Olympia.
Yeah, it really was. Although, what's funny about that, the tournament prior to the Frozen Four at the Garden, for me, will always have a special place because, for UNH to win the first DCAC title there in front of, 15,000 people, out at the Detroit Olympia, it turned out that there wasn't quite the atmosphere. It wasn't nearly the amount of people. And that's okay, but there was something special, and it was 2 New Hampshire schools playing with Dartmouth and UNH, and it was a great game, right? With a few minutes left. In fact, we all remember, those of us who played, that it was 17-17 of the third period that our number 17, Bobby Gould, scored the winner. And, of course, Greg Moffitt was so terrific in goal. And Greg's a Concord boy here now himself.
Well, that's a run that nobody who followed UNH hockey at the time will ever forget. And since that time, after UNH, on to play a little professional hockey.
Yeah, my senior year at UNH, Rich David, who had been a terrific player a decade before, he contacted Charlie Holt, and was looking for a couple guys to come over, a few foreigners, and Charlie recommended Frank, Barth, and I, and so we went over, and we thought we may play for a year there, and it ended up being 6. And in fact, Rich David was visiting me recently because his class had a reunion here. He had a great class, Rich did, with Ryan Brandt, who's being inducted today, and Mickey Goulet, Dave Sheen, Mike Onkeen. So all those guys got together here, I think, just 10 days ago. So.
Oh, that is a terrific reunion. And now, for the past 25 years at Phillips Exeter and in your hometown, that really had to be a dream come true.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful place to work and raise my family. I've got a 14-year-old son, and for him to grow up on that campus and have the facilities, to walk across the street with that gymnasium there, it's been a wonderful place to be a coach. Very bright kids, motivated guys, and every year we have a good squad. Our ambition each year is to try to play for the New England title, and so.
And you've had a number of players drafted by NHL teams from Phillips Exeter.
Yeah, the highest drafted kid is a New Hampshire kid, Eddie Caron from Hudson. Eddie played 3 years at Exeter, and as UNH fans know, he also played at UNH. And I've had several great New Hampshire players. Greg Boucher was my captain in 1999, and we won the New England title. He's a Manchester kid, went on to Yale. Colin Sheen is a kid from Hopkinton, New Hampshire, that was class of '97, along with another New Hampshire kid, Russ Bartlett, from Windham, New Hampshire. Russ is the all-time leading scorer at Exeter, 287 points, and unfortunately Russ chose Boston University. But anyway, I've had some fine players, absolutely.
Well, and Dana, congratulations. Great to chat with you on this tremendous occasion for you. It's a great class here of 2011, and welcome as a legend of hockey in New Hampshire.
Thank you very much, Ken. It's an exciting day.
Dana Barbin, one of the new legends, class of 2011, and great to have him with us here at the Grapponi Center. Joining me now, Carl Red Adams, native of Concord. We're in Concord here at the Grapponi Center, so you're right in your hometown. Grew up on White Street in Concord.
Right beside the park. Just had to cross the street to get into the park, that's all.
So you pretty much live there?
Oh, yes.
I can imagine.
First quarter of my life, yes.
Right across from Wright Park, and you skated there for many years, I'm sure.
Oh, beginning at 3, double runners.
I'm still on double runners. But you went on to quite a career, grew up in Concord, and played for the Concord High Crimson Tide, winning a couple of, unofficial state titles back in the 1930s. Tell us about your experience with Concord.
Well, I played for the Concord High School varsity in 38 and 39. And then I played 1 year for Tilton School. And then after that, UNH.
Tell us about your career at UNH, because I guess a lot of people don't know, and I really didn't know, that in the early 40s, the program was pretty much non-existent. It almost, you only played a few games back in that era.
Well, and in those days, freshmen had to play freshmen. They couldn't play varsity. So for the year 41, I was on UNH freshman. And in the year 42, I played UNH varsity. And then 43 and 44 were the war years, and the varsity program was discontinued at UNH in those years.
So you didn't get much of a chance to play hockey at UNH?
1 year.
1 year. Your freshman year, right?
No. Well, not counting that. The varsity year was 42. 1942, yeah.
Very good. And then, of course, the team that's being honored here today from Concord, Sacred Heart, you were a part of that as well.
Yes, I played with them from 44 to 52, yes.
That was a legendary team. What are your memories of that?
Skating in that little bandbox behind the Sacred Heart Church.
Small rink?
Yes. I showed it to Carl, drove in with the car in the parking lot the other day, and he says, "You couldn't play here, it's too short."
But a lot of people showed up, didn't they?
Oh, they were. We had a great following there, yes.
And who were some of the players that you played with at that time?
Well, the St. Paul School,
The Sacred Heart?
played with us for a number of years. Doc Meacham, Dan Stuckey, and Lang Lee, and Percy Preston, John McElwain. A few others probably I've missed.
Well, it was a while back, but just a great time, and that's a legendary program being honored here today. And I understand also you're a pretty good bowler. Is that true?
Yeah, I remember when, like, the day Carl was born, I won the city tournament that year.
Is that right?
That's the only thing I can remember about.
Is that Candlepins?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's the only way to bowl, right?
Well, that's all you get up here this way.
Well, it's a pleasure chatting with you, Mr. Adams. Carl Red Adams, legend, the New Hampshire Hockey Hall of Fame legend, and deservedly so. And you're being honored here today, and we thank you very much for spending some time.
Thank you, sir.
All right. That is Carl Red Adams, and congratulations to him and all the inductees. Another legend being inducted today, Ryan Brandt. And Ryan, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And I understand you grew up your formative years in Minnesota.
Yes, I did. The northwestern part of the state, but a town called Roseau that's a fairly hotbed of hockey.
I guess it has produced a number of outstanding players over the years, not surprisingly, from Minnesota. What led you to the University of New Hampshire?
Well, I guess initially started with Rube Bierkman, who is a Roseau native and was coaching at UNH at the time. And he needed another player, and I think I was next in line.
And so to Durham you ventured, and you played there for him just for 1 year before Charlie Holt came on the scene.
Yes, actually there were 2 years, but you had to play as a freshman. And then my sophomore year was with Rube Bierkman as coach. And then he left, and Charlie Holt came on.
What were your initial impressions, you and your teammates, of the legendary Charlie Holt?
Well, he's a great coach. He teaches you the game, and I call him a teacher coach more than anything else, and makes you understand the game the way it should be played.
And I'm certain you learned a lot under him.
I certainly did.
Where did your travels take you after the University of New Hampshire?
Well, from there, ended up in Concord, New Hampshire after graduation. I needed to finish up a couple of things. One was a military obligation and needed employment. And Bob Tardif was my contact person in Concord. And that brought me to Concord, and I've loved it ever since.
And certainly involved in the local hockey scene, especially in youth hockey.
Yes. We actually had moved to Indiana in 1980 and came back in 86. And our son was born in 82. And when we came back, started up with the youth hockey program. And as long as he was playing, I ended up coaching and was on the board for a couple of years. And then we had an unfortunate situation that happened with our son. He passed away when he was 11. And I kind of lost a little bit of interest at the time in the youth hockey program.
But you're still playing the game yourself?
I do. It's in my blood. Can't get rid of it.
And I guess you're going to be involved in the second annual 1883 Black Ice tournament, which is coming up in the early part of next year.
I'm certainly looking forward to it. Last year I had to take a backseat to it. Had a little cardiac situation, but I should be all set to go this year.
I understand you play in some tournaments for seniors around the country.
Yeah, and that's been really fun for me because it's connecting up with some of my Roseau, Minnesota teammates and ones that I used to watch, and that's been fun.
Well, I'm sure it has been. Ryan Brandt, great to have you with us. The class of 2011, New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, a richly deserved honor, and enjoy the day.
I certainly will. Thank you very much, Ken.
And we welcome to the Legends of Hockey class of 2011, a legend in Concord for a long, long time, and that's Dunk Walsh, who's been, I can't believe this, but a fixture on Concord ice services, especially at the Everett Arena, for over 40 years.
Well, I've been down there for 40 years, but coaching's been 26, but it's been a great run for us at Concord High over the last 25 years.
Well, no question about that. Tell us about your early playing days. What you remember about your first foray into hockey when you were a youngster?
Well, I grew up in Concord and played Concord youth hockey like a lot of the guys. And I remember my first travel team was Squirts playing for Dr. Burger Carlson, Kent Stad, and I remember being like a 7 or 8 year old traveling around all over New England really, and just really liked hockey from the start. Had some great friends and I had great coaches in youth hockey, so I was pretty fortunate.
And then you went on to play at Bishop Brady in Concord. And tell us about some of your memories. And I'm sure there are lots of great memories from Bishop Brady.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I had a great coach there, Bud LeCurn, and we had some great games back then. We lost in the finals a couple times, but we had some good teams. Bruce Gillies, Johnny DiNapoli had some good teammates. Certainly, I remember the game that stands out is playing Manchester Memorial triple overtime game that we beat them in triple overtime. And I happened to score the game winner, so I remember that one sticks out. And Hubie was on the other team, and so it was a great win.
That certainly was a memorable game, and packed house, as I remember it, Lively Snively.
Yeah, that was a great place to play. I mean, it had so much character, and the fans were right there on top of you. So those were great days.
No question about it. Then on to a very good career at Plymouth State.
Yeah, I went up there in '82, and things worked out pretty well. We first couple of years we weren't very good, but we got some players in. And my senior year we were actually good. We lost in the Division III finals, and we won 19 games that year, which is still Plymouth, still the most wins in school history. So it was a great experience up there.
I'm sure that it was. And then it wasn't very long after that you got into the coaching business.
Yeah, I graduated from Plymouth '86, and I was the assistant coach / JV coach, and did that for 4 years, and then I got the opportunity to be the head coach, and 22 years later, here we are.
It's truly unbelievable, and not to mention 6 state championships later.
Yeah, we've had some success. It's you almost remember the tough losses more than the wins, but we had a great run there in the '90s. We won 4 in a row, which is in these days is really hard to do. But yeah, I've had a lot of good players, a lot of good kids, good coaches helping me, so I've been lucky.
It seems hard to believe that you have been at it that long, but you're one of the grizzled veterans in New Hampshire hockey. And does any one of the 6 championships stand out to you?
Well, 2 years ago, that one was so unexpected. 2010, when we beat Exeter 1-0, we were middle of the pack team most of the year, and just kind of got hot at the end of the year. And so that one kind of was extra special when you don't expect it,
Well, that's always when something means more, and I'm certain that the induction into the Legends Hall of Fame means a lot to you as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the guys that are in before me, and a lot of guys that I played with and against, and different coaches, and like Bruce Gillies, who I was a teammate with, Bud LeCurn, my coach, Lee Blossom, good friend of mine. So certainly it means a lot, and all of my friends will be here today, which means a lot.
Well, that is terrific, and certainly a richly deserved honor for you, Dunk Walsh, and I'm sure you'll be at it for a long time to come at CHS.
Yeah, my son's a senior, so I think some people think I'm going to retire, but I really have no plans. I still love doing it, so I'll be there for a while.
So we'll squash those rumors right now.
Yeah, no.
You're not on the brink of retirement.
No, I'm too young.
All right, Dunk, very good. We appreciate you spending some time, and enjoy your day.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
Next inductee into the Legends Hall of Fame is Sandy Sestair, Sanford Sandy Sestair, and his son Art is with us, along with Jane Kalinsky, who played for the legend, Sandy Sestair, at St. Paul's School, where he was really the driving force behind that great program that's developed over the years at St. Paul's School. And Art, what do you remember most fondly about your dad?
Well, with respect to the hockey, I recall living in Boston and coming up to St. Paul's occasionally, and that he would be involved with the girls day in and day out. He'd have them up to the house for tea and cookies and goodies, and he was just very dedicated to the school, the team, and the girls from start to finish. And that's the way he lived it. And he had indicated several times, much after he retired, that he missed that the most once he had retired.
And it really started off as a very small program, but he was, as I say, the driving force behind it, and now it's become a tremendous, tremendous program. You have to be proud of that.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. And there's some memorabilia back at the school to keep his honor going, and obviously he meant a lot to the school because they do have a scholarship, an award in his name, a portrait out there, so his legacy will be there for forever.
That is a terrific thing. And Jane Kalinsky from Nashua played for the legendary Sandy Sestair. And what do you remember most about him?
I remember everything. I remember he was sort of an all-around hockey guy. He taught us not only the basics of the game, but he was totally committed to our development, to getting us over for tea and cookies, Coach and Mrs. Coach, making sure we all were sort of happy with our, where we were, and he also just taught us a ton about the game. He was a great guy.
Now, had you played hockey at all before your experience at St. Paul's School?
No, I was a famous figure skating convert. Which is one of the things that always makes us all laugh. He had no one to recruit from, so he chose either girls who had played with their brothers, girls who had figure skated, or people with no experience. And he really, which is why you can appreciate the struggle, building the program from the ground up with really not a lot of raw material to work with.
And I'm sure he was a very good teacher of the fundamentals.
Fantastic. He did a great job, sort of taught us all the game. As I said, it's not as if we had a lot of experience. So not only did he have to teach us all the rules of the game, he worked on our skating. He just did, it was the whole thing with him. He did a great job.
And it's amazing the way the program has blossomed over the years. He was right there at the very start of it. I'm sure nobody paid much attention to it in its first few years, but now the program has become just an ongoing success story.
Exactly. It's a premier program. Lots of girls want to go and skate there. As Art said, there's now a scholarship endowed in Coach Sestair's name to assist a girl with tuition, a girls hockey player, and it's a great thing.
And what got you involved in hockey? You figure skated, you told me, but what was the deciding factor that got you involved in going out there with a stick and a helmet and playing some hockey?
It was, I have to say, it was all Coach Sestair. He was a very gentle man, but he was very good at applying consistent pressure. So he kind of taught, all of us he thought might be good candidates. He sort of talked to us, mentioned it when he saw us, and finally he got us all out there. And it was great because most of us went on to play in D1 and D3 colleges.
Yeah, he sent, I know, a tremendous number of the girls there to Division I and Division III programs. Where did you play?
I played at Harvard.
You did, yeah, very good. And without his guidance and leadership, you probably wouldn't have done that.
No, exactly. That's exactly right. It was a great gift. And the wonderful thing is, of the group of us who skated with him, I would say many, if not most, are skating today. Lots of us are still playing women's hockey. We coach our children's teams. We work on our kids' youth hockey boards. So it was a gift for him, really. It was a gift from him to us.
That is just a tremendous story. Where are you playing today?
I play on two teams. I play on a team out of the South Shore Women's League, which is out of Marlborough and Canton, Massachusetts. And I play in a day league that's a very quieter league in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Terrific. Art, how would you like your dad to be remembered?
Just for an individual who was a teacher and a builder. That's what he was nominated under, was the builder category, which he did. He built, and just dedicated to his profession, teaching and coaching, and instilling inspiration into people like Jane. And I think that he enjoyed his job, and so it was easy and fun for him, and that's the way he should be remembered, somebody who enjoyed his job and had fun doing it.
He has done a lot for so many, and it's a terrific story. And Art and Jane, thank you for being with us today here at the Legends of Hockey Banquet.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
the legendary Sandy Sestair, being celebrated today here at the Grapponi Center. Leonard Red Brochu being inducted today into the Legends Hall of Fame here in New Hampshire. His son, Len II, with us, and we're celebrating today the great Sacred Heart program in Concord, and program that legendary in this town and throughout New Hampshire, for that matter. And your dad was certainly a part of that.
Yes, yeah, he grew up around the rink at Sacred Heart. A lot of stories he's told me about making the ice and cleaning the ice. He had to pay his dues before he got a chance to play.
I guess so, and had a great career with them, and then somehow got into officiating. How did that happen?
I think it's just his love of the game. You know, he was a physical person, and after a certain amount of time, if you know, you can't play the game full bore, you have to work the next day, then you stay in the game any way you can.
Now, I understand that he was rather large in stature and probably did not take too much shenanigans from the players.
No, I used to get dragged around to the rinks, and you know, the old Montreal police, and there was always a few brawls, and people used to say he had the largest hands, he had bear paws.
So nobody messed around too much out on the ice when Red Brochu was out there?
No.
So what about, as far as you're concerned, how would you like your dad to be remembered?
You know, I think how most people that know him here is just respected in any aspect of the game, whether it be a player, coach, or officiating. You know, the camaraderie, that's about it.
And I know that he was very much involved in the youth hockey program in Concord.
Yes, yeah. I was told by him and several other people that he was one of the founding fathers. You know, he helped out. He's always been a shy person. You know, didn't look for the limelight, just did what needed to be done.
And I also understand that when Charlie Holt, the legendary UNH hockey coach, rewrote the college officiating handbook, that your dad played a role in that as well.
Yes, I remember him talking about Charlie calling up and going over the rules and asking his opinion on things, and he did help form that a little bit.
So certainly a person that's had an impact on the game, not only locally with his playing and great officiating skills, but also in rewriting some of the rules for collegiate hockey in general.
Yes.
And great impact that he's had. Just a great career as a player and an official. Certainly instrumental in making the Concord Youth Hockey Program what it is today. It has to be a proud moment for you and your family.
Very proud. My son, Lenny III, named after my father, is extremely proud, as are all his grandkids.
Lenny play?
Yes, yeah. He's 11, so he's a peewee.
Very good. Well, Len II, we appreciate you spending some time with us. Your dad was truly a legend and richly deserving of this honor to be inducted into the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, and it's great to have you and the family here today.
Thank you very much.
Today, the legendary Sacred Heart hockey team from Concord is being honored. We are very pleased to have 5 members of that team, and I'm going to go up and down the line here, and you can introduce yourselves.
I'm Barney Colgan.
Hey, Barney.
I'm Bill Rice.
I'm Pike Colgan.
I'm Red Adams.
I'm Tom Champagne.
Tom, tell us about some of your memories. I know you have something prepared here that you can read for us, and not at all.
It's an honor for the Sacred Heart hockey team to be recognized by the Legends of Hockey. For the 5 of us who are being honored today, it is a very meaningful experience. Many hard-working people have made the Legends of Hockey what it is today, a tribute to hockey in New Hampshire. Congratulations to all those who have been inducted into the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Hall of Fame. We would like to thank Barney Colgan for all his hard work and research in organizing the history of Sacred Heart hockey. He must have spent many hours on the pictures of players enlarged and framed. Nice job, Barney.
Well, that is great. Well, what's your most vivid memory of playing for Sacred Heart?
The cold weather.
I'm sure that would be the memory of a lot of these guys.
Cold weather and then being able to get down into the basement of the Sacred Heart School to get some hot chocolate, get warmed up.
I bet it tasted real good.
Yeah, and it was a pleasure to work with these fellas and the rest of the fellas that are not here. It was a privilege. I was a kid playing with the men hockey. Great playing with this guy.
You didn't have a Zamboni at that time.
No, Zamboni. We had shovels and we knew how to shovel and flood rinks and everything was outside, you know. But it was apples and oranges. We had a great time with what we did, but no slap shots.
No.
And a lot of good memories.
What'd you wear for equipment back then?
Not very good equipment like they have today. The helmet, if you laid it down, it would be completely flat. I mean, and sometimes, I don't even remember my goalie ever wearing a hat. It could be 10, 12 below zero out there. And,
That's amazing, man.
It's just a difference.
You remember the hot chocolate?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Probably kept us from freezing to death.
Do you have any other memories of that great Sacred Heart team?
I remember all the members from St. Paul School.
What position did you play?
Wing, left wing.
You were a wing?
Yeah, left wing.
Fast?
Very fast.
I'll bet you were. I'll bet you were.
Very fast.
Special memories?
Yes, playing against the United States Olympics was the thing, and also the Berlin Maroons. And I was the youngest person on the team, Tommy and I, and we were still in high school at the time. So we got a lot of good.
And when I see the pictures of the Sacred Heart team playing, a lot of people showed up for these games.
And they were standing on the snow.
Standing room only.
Standing room only.
There you
They had at one time some of the games were 1,000 people there, so it was a good tribute to us.
Even as cold as it was. A day like this was nothing, right?
Oh God, no! Yeah. We'd work up a sweat.
Yeah, I bet this was a good day by those standards. What about any special memories for you?
Sure. I remember the special memories when we prepared to play for the team. When winter was coming on, we used to go out on the ponds, out at Turkey Pond, Long Pond, and we'd practice our games out there. And then we came back in, we'd flood the rinks and get it prepared so that we could get on and skate. And I remember Art Roy kind of organized the thing, and Morris Kuchar, and got hockey going along with Paul Champagne, who was a manager of the team. And we had a great time playing against the Olympics, and especially playing against the Berlin Maroons. They were our strongest competition in the state. It was a great rivalry. We enjoyed it.
Terrific rivalry, and thank you for sharing those memories with us. And how about yourself, Barn?
Well, I remember days like this when you went to the rink with your shovel and your stick and skates over your shoulder before, playing or practicing. Probably when I saw my first slap shot that came whizzing by my head, and I wouldn't be probably here if it struck me, but it was a different era. The game has changed quite a bit, Ken, since the days that we played it back in 1952 and then in the late 40s.
Sure, the equipment has changed quite a bit too.
Oh, it has changed too. Yes, the skates and all the equipment. We used to go to the rink with 3 or 4 or 5 sweaters, to keep warm, gloves inside of your gloves. 2 or 3 pairs of socks on, and the fans too. They were piled around the rink in the snowbanks. Yeah.
Well, a legendary team, and being honored here today at the Grapponi Center, the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, and no team more legendary than the Sacred Heart team from Concord. And gentlemen, pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed all the stories here today. It's just everybody who leaves these this induction every year. Just always ends up walking out here with a smile on your face, and hope you had a great time. We'd like to thank all of our inductees and sponsors and volunteers and attendees, especially the families, for your never-ending support of the inductees today. Thank you so much for coming.